just you repeat it and you say it and your side believes it and you move
why
on.
would they do that when I can just
know.
say that's not true?
It's bizarre.
But
It's so
who
bizarre.
are they going to believe? They're going to believe me or a person who literally says whatever the audience wants them to say, which is what they did.
Living.
Yeah, I'm not. Why would I lie? I have no reason to lie.
So bizarre. It would have been interesting to.
If I fucked her over, I would tell the truth.
Yeah.
If I was like, we lied, we told her I was taking a personal day, but realized I wanted to get Trump in. Not true. I tried to do both of them in the same day. That was my idea.
That would have been amazing.
My idea was to do Trump during the day, and then her to come. She had a thing she was doing in Houston. After the thing with Houston, I go, I'll do it at midnight. I don't care. We'll do it whenever you want to do it.
Yeah.
While you're in Texas, but I just can't do during the day because Trump's going to be here.
All right. Let's talk about the Joe Rogan and Kamala Harris situation, because this one has layers. You've probably seen the headlines or clips going around Rogan calling out Harris for twisting stories in her new book, 107 Days. Apparently, the vice president's memoir isn't just political reflection, it's a full-blown alternate reality, at least according to Rogan. Here's the setup. Remember that rumor about Kamala Harris having an interview lined up with Rogan, but he supposedly canceled because Trump wanted the same day? Well, Rogan's finally setting the record straight, and his version completely destroys that story. According to him, none of it happened that way. In fact, it sounds like Harris's team used Rogan as an easy scapegoat, turning what really happened into a strange PR twist. And the best part? Rogan didn't just talk about it vaguely, he brought details, he brought receipts. He's sitting there saying, why would I lie? What do I gain from this? And honestly, that's a fair question. He already has one of the biggest platforms in the world. He doesn't need to make up drama for attention. If anything, he's tired of being turned into a political boogeyman whenever someone wants to avoid accountability. For context, Rogan says his plan was simple: interview both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris on the same day. Back-to-back Trump during the day, Harris at night. Totally doable. He even offered to record late at night to match her schedule in Texas, which is flexibility most media hosts would never even consider. But according to Rogan, Harris's team had other plans. Instead of working it out, they backed out, tossing around excuses, personal days, scheduling issues, security problems, you name it.
I had to have known. I mean, the Secret Service there was 200 guys here. They had
in Texas.
No, in this studio.
No.
There was
for
200
Trump.
people here for Trump.
For Trump. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It was packed.
Wow.
It was packed.
That's crazy.
Bro, they didn't around.
Okay.
They did not around. They surrounded the building. It was nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah, they made sure that everything was safe and secure.
Wow.
So, like, someone had to know something that he was here. Like, it's not a mystery. But I said,
dogs through.
But I wasn't trying to be deceptive. I said, I'll do it later.
Right.
I just can't do it during this time.
That's the excuse they took.
They want to do
That's
it.
like, okay, they took that excuse.
Rogan calls that out directly and says they just made it up, which is where it gets interesting because while Harris's book frames it as a misunderstanding, Rogan's version is consistent and believable, and he explains that her team never actually committed to the show, that they claim to have sent someone for a walkthrough that never happened, and that the whole personal day story was completely made up. So the question becomes, why lie and why spin it at all?
I had to address not coming on here in the book too, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean,
her team was not truthful about that encounter at all. They never committed to doing the show, ever.
Yeah.
They said that, I said that I had a personal day, which is not true. I said I am not available the day that Trump was here. I said that day's not, I didn't say that I was have a personal day. They just made that up.
That's crazy.
And then they also said that they sent someone here to go through the studio, like sent someone to do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Rogan's theory makes sense. He believes her team simply didn't want her in a real, unfiltered interview. No teleprompter, no pre-approved questions, no polished campaign shine, just a raw 3-hour conversation with the most listened to podcaster in the world. And honestly, that is intimidating for any politician who depends on carefully crafted sound bites. Rogan summed it up perfectly. They'll either believe him or someone who just says whatever the audience wants to hear.
You repeat it and you say it and your side believes it and you move on.
Why would they do that when I can just say that's not true?
It's bizarre.
But
It's so
who
bizarre.
are they going to believe? They're going to believe me or a person who literally says whatever the audience wants them to say, which is what they did.
Yeah.
I'm not. Why would I lie? I have no reason to lie.
So bizarre. It would have been interesting to.
If I fucked her over, I would tell the truth.
Yeah.
If I was like, we lied, we told her I was taking a personal day, but realized I wanted to get Trump in. Not true. I tried to do both of them in the same day. That was my idea.
That would have been amazing.
My idea was to do Trump during the day, and then her to come. She had a thing she was doing in Houston. After the thing with Houston, I go, I'll do it at midnight. I don't care. We'll do it whenever you want to do it. While you're in Texas, but I just can't do during the day because Trump's going to be.
And that's the line that really stings, because it's exactly what he accuses Kamala of doing, saying whatever fits the crowd. The problem is, when you play that game long enough, people start noticing. They begin to realize that the version of you they see on camera isn't the real one. It's the version your team built in a boardroom. That's Rogan's biggest issue with her authenticity, or rather, the lack of it. He argues that Kamala Harris has mastered the art of political shapeshifting. One day she's a progressive firebrand, the next she's the moderate mom of the nation. Whatever sells, whatever earns applause. But when the spotlight's unfiltered, when there's no safety net, no cue cards, that act doesn't hold up. And Rogan didn't stop there. He also took aim at the content of her book. Harris apparently claimed the last election was the closest race of the 21st century, and Rogan's reaction was basically, "What are you talking about?" He immediately compared it to Bush versus Gore in 2000, a true nail-biter filled with recounts, lawsuits, and a nation on edge. That election came down to just a few hundred votes in Florida. Harris's claim wasn't even close. Rogan's frustration is clear. He's tired of politicians twisting history to fit a narrative. He says it's not just wrong, it's dishonest. His point isn't about left or right, it's about truth. He's calling out a pattern that goes beyond party lines, the political habit of reframing reality to make losses sound like near victories. And honestly, who hasn't seen that move before?
Something really crazy. She's been saying that this is the closest race of the 21st century and that it wasn't a mandate. That's just not true.
It's not true.
Gore and Bush was much closer.
Yes.
I think that was a 0.5%.
Yes. I don't know why she keeps saying this.
It's just a lie. And then also she's leaving out the fact that she lost every swing state. Every single one.
Yeah.
So, like, what are you talking about?
I know. It's
he
crazy.
won the popular vote and he won the electoral college vote.
Man.
And that's a mandate. Say that it's not a mandate. It's like, but it's almost like if you say it to the converted that they're going to listen and repeat it. Yeah, he barely won.
Right.
Like, no, he won.
Yeah.
He won every swing state. He won the popular vote. Yeah. That's called winning. You win the House and you win the Senate. That he won.
But then it got even funnier or sadder, depending on how you look at it. Rogan says Harris took credit in her book for the no tax on tips proposal, something Donald Trump had already been promoting for months. Rogan couldn't stop laughing at that one. He said it was clearly Trump's idea, and he's right. The timeline isn't even up for debate. Trump announced it, campaigned on it, and made it a central talking point. Later, Harris's team echoed it, and suddenly it became her idea. It's the oldest trick in politics. Claim credit when something's popular and deflect blame when it's not. Rogan calls it a classic political move, and he's not wrong. You can almost picture the meeting where someone on her staff said, "Hey, that tax idea is polling really well, maybe we should talk about that too. It's calculated, it's safe, and it's incredibly transparent."
He calls that winning.
This is crazy talk.
Yeah, it's wild. It is so
but she's
wild.
Probably hammered.
And
she's probably up there drinking wine. Kick his ass next time.
It's so brutal. And I think she's took credit for the no tax on tips things in the book as well.
That's hilarious because that was clearly his.
Clearly.
He said it first and they copied it.
It's amazing.
Did she really say that in the book?
I haven't read it, but I have heard from someone who did read it that she did.
Biden. And when you add that to her dodging Rogan's podcast, the pattern becomes impossible to miss. Every time things get real, Kamala Harris either backs off or blames her team. But this is where Rogan really drops the hammer. He says outright, they wanted a scripted interview. They didn't use that exact word, but according to him, that's exactly what they meant. There were topics she didn't want to discuss, which is ironic because Rogan isn't even a gotcha interviewer, he's conversational. He gives guests room to speak, but his curiosity is relentless, and that's what scares politicians. He even said he was open to any topic. "We can talk about cooking. I don't care," he joked. "I'll figure you out." That line says it all. Rogan's approach isn't about trapping guests. It's about showing who they really are once the mask slips. That's what makes his show powerful, and for someone like Kamala, so dangerous.
Do the whole thing.
Never.
They wanted to do like a 45-minute thing in a different place. They didn't say scripted, but they did say that there's some things that she didn't want to talk about. And then they denied that.
Yeah, that's what I meant by scripted. Yeah.
I said I don't care. I'll talk to you about cooking. I don't give a I just want to know, who are you? I'll figure you out.
Yeah.
I'll figure you out in a few hours.
Yeah, in 3 hours, you can't fake your way through a conversation like this.
No, I'll find you.
Yeah.
I'll find you.
Yeah.
I'll ask you controversial things. Like, it's all I have to do is ask you, why is the border open? We could talk about that for 3 hours.
Now, let's pause for a moment and think about the scale of what she turned down. Rogan's podcast isn't just big, it's the biggest media platform in the world, reaching hundreds of millions of listeners from every political background. A candidate or official could use that platform to speak directly to Americans, completely unfiltered. No spin, no editing, just real conversation. So when Kamala Harris chose to skip that and instead spend time at what Rogan called irrelevant campaign events that barely made headlines, it wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was political malpractice. Even commentators who don't usually agree with Rogan have pointed it out. It's crazy that her team couldn't see the value in that kind of appearance.
Her, he changed his mind and asked her to record in Texas. Harris said that was a big ask, considering every minute in a swing state mattered at that point late in the election. But she wrote that she was game despite reservations from some of her team if they could wedge it in.
Okay, can I pause there for a second? Because I want to explain how stupid that is. Okay, so assume it's true, right? So you're gonna go do some rando thing in a swing state that's not gonna get any media coverage because you're just doing a cheerleading thing with talking points. We saw it, nobody covered those events. Instead of going on the largest podcast in America, where you could literally reach, what did Trump's get, about 100 million views? Something in that ballpark? So you chose not to address 100 million people because you were gonna do an irrelevant rah-rah event in a swing state? Do you know how politically negligent?
Think about it. Trump's appearance on Rogan's podcast broke records, with tens of millions tuning in. That's not just a podcast, that's a nationwide conversation. For Harris to reject that kind of platform because it didn't feel safe says everything about how her campaign views authenticity. They don't trust her to be herself, and that might be the saddest part. Love him or hate him, Rogan's interviews work because they're unscripted. You see people as they really are, their humor, their flaws, their contradictions. That's why guests like Elon Musk or Bernie Sanders went on his show and earned respect from audiences who might not have supported them before. They showed up raw and faced the questions head on. Harris's refusal wasn't just about skipping one interview. It symbolized her entire public image: cautious, calculated, and overmanaged. She comes across as a product of focus groups and advisors rather than genuine authenticity. And Rogan wasn't about to let that go unnoticed.
Book titled 107 Days, and in it she addresses the now infamous interview that never was with Joe Rogan. And apparently she was very excited to do the interview. She really was. So why didn't it happen? Well, let's start with what Harris said happened, and then we'll give you Rogan's side of the story. So Harris writes that she and Rogan had initially agreed that he would interview her in Detroit, which I don't believe. Rogan is not a journalist, and he doesn't travel around the country to interview politicians. He does a podcast, his guests come to where he is, and he does a 2.5 hour to 3 hour long podcast with his guests.
I've literally never seen him travel. Maybe he has and I didn't see it, but it would be exceedingly rare if it's ever.
He said it straight up, they never wanted to do the full interview. According to Rogan, her team pushed for a short, tightly controlled segment somewhere else, maybe 45 minutes at most. But that's not how Rogan works. His show is long form by design because it strips away the polish. In his words, you can't fake your way through a 3-hour conversation. And he's right. 3 hours in that chair and your guard inevitably drops. That's why celebrities, scientists, and politicians who try to stick to talking points often end up unraveling. The human brain just can't maintain an act for that long. Rogan knows it, and Kamala's team knew it. That's exactly why they backed out. It becomes even more revealing when you look at her own version of events. In her book, she claims she was completely open to the Rogan interview, but that her advisors told her it was a bad idea. Come on, that's classic political deflection. Whenever something backfires, blame the team. The problem is, she was the candidate. The final call was hers. And let's be honest, that excuse doesn't hold up. If she truly wanted to reach Rogan's massive audience, she could have made it happen. She's the vice president of the United States. If she wanted to be there, she would have been there. Instead, she chose to hide behind handlers and campaign strategy, proving exactly what Rogan was saying. She doesn't operate on authenticity, she operates on optics.
Political calculation, so much so
Jesus.
that she's still having to answer questions about it today.
And her excuses actually make it worse.
It makes it worse because the lie is so obvious. But anyway, let's
But even if it isn't a lie, Anna, it's saying, I don't know anything about modern American politics. I don't realize that going on that podcast is way more valuable to a campaign than doing a insular campaign rally where a bunch of Democrats go, are we all gonna vote for each other? Yeah. That's totally irrelevant compared to that podcast. And to this date, she still doesn't realize it.
So she also wrote, even though most of my team thought doing the interview at all was a gamble, and to be sure it was a gamble, and others bluntly argued it was a bad idea, I really wanted to do it. One podcast was not going to win or lose the election, but Rogan's audience was young and male. I wanted to reach those guys who might not otherwise.
And honestly, voters can sense that from miles away. People don't connect with polished speeches or perfectly staged press events anymore. They connect with realness. They want leaders who can sit down and talk like actual human beings. That's why Rogan's criticism hits so hard. It's not just about one missed interview. It's about a bigger truth that too many politicians are still performing for cameras instead of engaging with people. And let's be fair, Rogan isn't some political saint. He's controversial and constantly makes headlines, but that's also why his show works. It's unpredictable, unfiltered, and genuine, the kind of authenticity Americans crave. His criticism of Harris resonates because it's coming from someone who built a career on asking uncomfortable questions and refusing to follow the script. By the end of his segment, Rogan summed it up perfectly, calling the whole thing cowardice disguised as caution. Harris's team didn't skip that interview because of scheduling or logistics. They skipped it because they couldn't control it. They wanted a PR moment, but Rogan offered them reality, and they ran from it. The irony is that by including it in her book, Harris and her team only made things worse, reigniting the controversy and giving Rogan another chance to tear the story apart publicly. If that's not a self-inflicted PR wound, I don't know what is. But maybe that's the bigger lesson here. The public's patience for political theater is gone. People don't want spin anymore. They want honesty, even if it's messy or uncomfortable. Every time a politician like Harris tries to polish the truth or dodge an unscripted conversation, they just dig the hole deeper. In the end, Rogan didn't just fact-check her. He exposed something deeper, that the modern political class is terrified of authenticity. They've built entire careers on image control, and when someone like Rogan comes along with a platform they can't manage, they panic. So maybe this whole Joe Rogan versus Kamala Harris drama isn't just about a canceled interview. It's about a shift that's already happening, away from scripted politics and toward real, meaningful conversations. Because here's the truth. People are done being managed. They don't want another politician telling them what to think. They want to hear it, question it, and decide for themselves. And that's the part Harris's team still doesn't understand. So, what do you think? Should Kamala have gone on Rogan's show? Would it have helped her or exposed her completely? Share your thoughts below. And if you like this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. Because if this story proves anything, it's that in politics, the truth always finds a way out, even if it's through a podcast.